afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Alyssa Corum here, and I am joined by Ed Carson on today's show. We're going to talk about the broad strength that we saw in the major indexes today and some strong action as well for some interesting names that we've been keeping some pretty close tabs on. Ed, why don't you give us a preview?
All right, Ali. Apple was a big winner today and definitely was a big factor for the market. SolarEdge also broke out, while Chipotle looks like it's back on the menu.
All right, great. Well, first, a look at the NASDAQ here, gaining about 1.25% for the day, while the S&P 500 was also up about 1.3%, the Dow up 1.1%. So some really broad-based strength, it looks like, Ed, in the market today.
Yeah, it was really, really strong. I mean, that's what it comes down to. The market, had a little bit of a test last week and is powering right back, right at all-time highs. A lot of strength in the market. A lot of it obviously is Apple, but there was a lot of strong gains throughout the various sectors. So definitely a good day.
All right, well, let's take a look at some individual stocks, kicking things off with Apple, as you mentioned, Ed, a big contributor to the gains in the market today. Strong session, up about 5% for Apple, and we've had this stock on our radar since it started breaking this downward sloping trend line, retaking that 50-day line. So a bunch of different areas where you could have initiated and started adding to your position. Today, even too, with the stock clearing this 125.49 level, an area that is considered to be actionable for Apple.
Yeah, it's just a really strong move. There was news today that Apple is going to boost production by 30% in the first half of 2021 versus a year ago. I mean, that's just a report, but it really seemed to get Apple moving. I really like the volume today. And if you'll note, when it broke above that trend line and rebounded a couple weeks ago, it also came on fairly decent volume a couple weeks ago. So, that right in there. So that's a positive. That shows you that real institutions were probably getting in there on those days. Yeah, this would have placed, you could have bought it a couple of weeks ago, started a position, maybe adding some more here. Just obviously, it's been sitting out for a while, but maybe it's ready to come back.
All right, and elsewhere, let's check in on SolarEdge. We're seeing some notable strength in solar stocks as of late. If that's not a tongue twister for you, it's
It would
I
be.
had to really try hard on that one. But this is another one that's adding to gains. Broke out, I guess, officially, or closing above this handle buy point today. Tested that level late last week. What are your thoughts on how it finished the day today?
Obviously, it finished pretty well. I should disclose that I do have a position in this. I bought it a couple of days ago when it first tried to break out, when it broke past the downward sloping trend in the handle. So, yeah, from 298 down. So it broke it in there. Tried to break out of the official buy point, slip back, but today it's moving. You say solar stocks were huge today. There's a lot of momentum in these things. They go up and then they come down. As you can see, there's some really strong action both directions. I wish there had been stronger volume, but in the context of the last few days, it's been decent, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we aren't quite seeing that relative strength line at highs, but another thing that we like to look at for these handles is, okay, well, at the very least, are we seeing that relative strength line higher than it was at the start of the handle? And we're definitely seeing that for SolarEdge. And Ed, you mentioned Chipotle back on the menu. I know it was in your diet a little while, at least a while back. Not sure about this year, but a very decent gain today for Chipotle, up almost 3%. This looks kind of like a handle here. What are your thoughts on how this chart action is shaping up?
That actually is now a handle as of today's close. I mean, it's not much of a shakeout. I'm not going to say this is shaking out too many people, but that would be a buy point of around 1358. It rebounded today. You probably could have bought it today, early entry, just sort of bouncing off the 50-day line, just sort of doing that as a starter. This was just too large to be a flat base. You could sort of see it's a squash double bottom. So there's lots of little buy points you could get in there. The 1366 or the 1384 area, none of them are too far away. I mean, when you're getting up to these many points, we're talking about a couple percentage points. It's been holding up well. This was our new America, I think, last week. So it's the latest one. It just tells you it's done pretty well. I mean, the profits cratered but the sales held up reasonably well for a dine-in restaurant. They really expanded digital quite fast. And
Mhm.
so, and if you look at the estimates for next year, obviously that's a bounce back year, but presumably they're expecting profits to come back up this, in the core fourth quarter to bounce back somewhat and then really ramp up next year. So, that those are reasons to bet on it, even though the financials are not really good right now.
Yeah, looking ahead to next year, that's some strong growth indeed. We'll have to see if this relative strength line can perk up a little bit
Hmm.
more, but pretty good action this week. And you probably mentioned, Ed, because you mentioned the New America, but Apple was our stock of the day today. So make sure you also check out that article for an in-depth look, not only on the chart action, but also more details as to what Ed was speaking to about production and the prospects there from that report and more. Hope you check that out over at investors.com. And we really appreciate you tuning in, everyone. The conversation is going to continue tomorrow morning on IBD Live. There's never a shortage of things to talk about, Ed. We always come up with some really great educational topics and some good music selections as well.
Well, thanks. Sometimes I'm glad you enjoyed today's music selections, and hopefully, and do we have a webinar coming up pretty soon?
Yeah, we do have a webinar. I know that it is today. So check out investors.com/webinar for all the details on that with Mark Minervini and David Ryan. The archive of that, of course, will be posted. You can bet at investors.com as well if you missed the live webinar. So you can check that out. And IBD Live is at investors.com/IBD Live for more details on that. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.